It's time for Debrief, your quick wrap-up of TRT World's top stories from the week.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ben duymuyorum bile doğru düzgün.
This is yours.
Yeah.
Oh, they have a package.
Çok sağ olun.
Thank you.
The Israeli military has admitted for the first time that it opened fire on a car carrying 5-year-old Palestinian girl Hind Rajab. She was killed with 6 relatives in Gaza in 2024. The military has opened a criminal investigation into the deaths and the killing of 2 paramedics who were sent to rescue her. Hind initially survived the attack and called emergency services for help before the line went dead amid the sound of gunfire.
That was 5-year-old Hind Rajab, trapped in a car, surrounded by the bodies of her family, begging for help. She stayed on the line with paramedics for nearly 3 hours. The ambulance sent to rescue her was shelled. The paramedics were killed. Hind's remains were found 12 days later. 2.5 years on, Israel says it will now investigate.
The Hind Rajab Foundation says it does not trust the Israeli army's decision to investigate the killing of the 5-year-old. Her grandmother echoed the foundation's stance.
She was displaced and she was targeted while in the car. Everybody saw how Hind was pleading to be rescued, and we demanded through the Red Cross.
Meanwhile, Israel has decided not to pursue criminal proceedings over the killing of 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers in Gaza in 2024, saying it found no basis to investigate those killings. And that decision has sparked outrage from Australia, as one of those killed was Australian aid worker Zomi Francon.
The Australian government does not believe that the removal of 2 officers from their positions and 3 officers being reprimanded is sufficient accountability for the deaths of 7 people, including an Australian citizen.
Those responsible must be held to account through effective judicial proceedings. There needs to be full accountability.
Turkey's Justice Minister Akın Gürlek has announced that an Interpol red notice has been requested for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in connection with his responsibility for the attack on the Global Summit flotilla.
On Tuesday, Israeli authorities opened tenders for more than 1,200 apartments within the illegal E1 project. Khan al-Ahmar is just one of more than 24 Palestinian villages facing erasure.
Several more European countries and Canada have issued a joint statement that condemns Israel's decision to construct 1,200 settlement homes in the occupied West Bank.
Continuing and developing story now, Israel has deployed more soldiers around the village of Kusra in the occupied West Bank. It's where illegal Israeli settlers have been laying siege to Palestinian family homes for the past week.
A UN team has visited the families trapped inside their homes in Kusra, trying to bring them food and water. Pope Leo XIV has issued a statement saying, "I renew my appeal for an end to the ongoing violence against the Palestinian civilian population in the West Bank."
It causes them to be afraid to live their lives. That's terror.
The Israeli army intervened to remove these illegal settlers, but instead they did not. They declared this area a closed military zone. Now we're trying to enter, to reach these families and talk to them.
The settlers able to come every day, harassing us in front of my house, walking around my house, in front of the IDF eyes, and they're not doing anything.
A few settlers, maybe 10 of them, are doing all of this ordeal since at least 12 days.
Tensions between Iran and the US are escalating again as the 60-day Memorandum of Understanding signed in June expires on Monday. Donald Trump is calling on Iran to surrender and raise what he's calling the white flag. Tehran has reportedly said it will shift its policy from defensive to fully offensive due to the deadlock.
The US seems to have settled now on this strategy of economic coercion. The naval blockade remains in place, sanctions have been reimposed, that waiver has been abandoned. So the idea is now to strangle the Iranians economically.
We have heard so many conflicting statements from Donald Trump that here in Tehran, no one knows which comment of his should be taken seriously.
Can I just ask you about the Trump threat to bomb Oman if it gets in the way of its US negotiations with Iran?
It's the kind of bully mechanism that Trump is using in order to get what he wants, that so far demonstrated is not useful.
The United Arab Emirates has said it has suspended all trade with Iran until further notice. That coming as Abu Dhabi earlier accused Tehran of firing 2 ballistic missiles towards the country.
Iran's President Mahmoud Pezeshkian says it would be better to end the war with the US now because Tehran is in a position of strength over Washington.
Here's the news in brief, where we bring you even more top stories.
12 countries, including Turkey, have condemned Israel's strikes on a Syrian airbase, saying they risk undermining Damascus's efforts to rebuild after years of war. The Abu al-Duhur airbase in Idlib, just 70 kilometers from the Turkish border, was being refitted by the Syrian government when Israeli jets hit it 8 times on Wednesday night.
With its recent attacks on Syria, Israel is also targeting that country's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and unity. No allowance should be made for the perception that Israel's military interventions against neighboring countries are normal and acceptable. Our efforts and contributions towards preserving Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity and helping it achieve stability and security will continue with determination.
The Turkish head of communications Burhanettin Duran said on Thursday that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has clung to an irrational stance because of upcoming elections, growing international isolation, and political fears. The strikes have also drawn an unusually strong rebuke from Washington, with US Special Envoy to the region Tom Barak calling them an unnecessary escalation that does not advance regional stability. And US President Donald Trump puts another ally on the back foot after he ordered the Pentagon to substantially reduce military drills with South Korea. The army did just that and ended the exercises on their 5th day instead of the scheduled 11. Hours before the drills began on Monday, Trump posted on his Truth Social site, saying the exercises were costly and signaled hostility to a country that's been, quote, nothing but unthreatening and peaceful. Later on Wednesday, Trump said he wants to meet North Korea's Kim Jong-un soon. South Korean foreign minister said this is Trump's attempt to pressure Seoul into getting involved in the war with Iran. Pyongyang has not yet officially responded to that meeting request. But on Thursday, it launched 10 short-range missiles toward the sea. While that may not be a sign of gratitude from North Korea, its ally, Russia, said it's welcoming the US decision to cut the drills short. Speaking of Russia, an opinion often voiced by the Kremlin is now echoed by Ukraine's popular former defense minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, that Ukrainians should go to the polls despite the ongoing war. The 35-year-old former minister posted on YouTube on Tuesday, saying democracy can't be held hostage by Russia. Hours before, the parliament appointed a new defense minister on Wednesday.
We are facing a systematic governance crisis. The old system lives by its own rules too often. It protects itself, fears change, makes decisions slowly, and may punish the initiative while rewarding loyalty.
Once an ally of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Fedorov was relieved of his duties in July, just 6 months into his tenure. His firing had led to days of protests across the country and exposed rifts within the army's top command. Facing one of the biggest public backlashes since the war, Zelensky even had to sack a military chief. While Fedorov didn't say he would run in an election in that video address, recent polls suggest he could comfortably beat President Zelensky. But Ukrainian law prohibits elections during wartime, and conditions, even in the capital, are less than suitable. Russian attacks continue across the country, with at least 17 people have been killed and nearly 50 people have been injured in airstrikes around the Kyiv region just on Thursday. Back in the US, a first for Congress and another loss for AIPAC, an American pro-Israel lobbying group. California lawmaker Aisha Wahab has been elected to the House of Representatives after defeating Melissa Hernandez, who was backed by $2.5 million in spending from AIPAC. The lobbying group has already faced criticism during some Democratic primaries, amid eroding support for Israel across the US voter base. The election was called after the seat's previous owner, Democrat Eric Swalwell, resigned in April over sexual assault allegations.
Wahab will become the first Afghan American to serve in Congress, but she will face Hernandez again in November's midterms to hold the seat for a full 2-year term.
And check out our coverage of Technofest 2026.
Turkey's Navy is putting on an impressive show here at the Gölcük shipyard. It's a family day out and an opportunity for Turkey to showcase the latest in defense technology. Yet there is another aim here, and that is to encourage the next generation of engineers and inventors.
For our young generation, underwater vehicle competition, underwater surface vehicle competition, and others. By these competitions, we are trying to increase the number of young people having interest to naval systems, and by these young people we will provide more systems for future of Turkey.
So we had the chance to make some of our dreams come true, but the future is waiting for us to come up with much more complex technologies, much more advanced platforms and so, and it's the young generation who's going to do it.
For decades, Ankara relied on imported naval hardware. Now 80% of the Turkish Navy's modernization projects are made at home. From state-of-the-art missiles to autonomous surface and subsurface platforms, the nation's defense titans are all here showing off their wares and picking up young fans.
I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher or an architect when I grew up, but Technofest changed my mind. When I see the aircrafts and the ships, it made me want to be one of their engineers.
In recent years, Turkey has been promoting its policy known as Blue Homeland, or Mavi Vatan. The geographical doctrine anchors Turkey's maritime rights, energy security, and continental shelf claims across the Aegean, Black Sea, and the Eastern Mediterranean.
Turkey's total area corresponds to approximately 783,000 square kilometers. Our maritime jurisdiction areas, in turn, correspond to 462,000 square kilometers. Frankly, if our homeland on land is our home, then the blue homeland is a garden where we find peace. Just as we would never give up on a single room of our home, so too we cannot give up on a single drop of the blue homeland, our garden.
And in this corner of that garden, the seeds are certainly being sown. The hardware on display here in Gölcük proves that the blue homeland is no longer diplomatic rhetoric. It's a doctrine of deterrence to cultivate Turkey's secure and safe future.